Um, my name is Mojish, in case you don't know. Thanks for coming. This is going to be about how we are provisioning the servers and how all of us could, at the end, provisioning servers and why it's useful and so on. I realized that, first of all, it would be probably clever to define what provisioning means or actually what I understand when I say provisioning, because it can mean quite a few things. And I would like to share with you what we've done thus far and what can be done in the future. That's like what we're gonna talk about. And if I survive till the end, I would love to show you a little demo, but that's always funny. So I found out that it can mean, for example, like getting stuff for your army so that they have something to eat, or in IT, it's also like buying the servers and so on. So this is not going to be about army or about buying servers. This is about
you are streaming different screen.
Different
You are streaming yourself, not the presentation.
Which is definitely good.
Yeah,
it's going for us.
One more time. Sorry.
That's better.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the more exact meaning is, now I can see myself, that's really funny here. The more exact meaning would be setting up the server. The server doesn't have to be a physical machine. It can as well be a machine on your notebook that's like a virtual, or a machine on Amazon, or actually a Docker image also, or any sort of a thing running somewhere. It can even be a Windows server, which is cool. Or for some of you. Like 2 days ago or so, Nikolai was like, why do you actually need to do this? So I promised I would try to explain here. There is many reasons why it's clever to do such thing. Like I was going to tell you a nice story. Like when we went to Vienna the other day, I met a guy I never saw in live before, and he said, yeah, I remember you. And I was like, yeah, I remember you. And we had a long call one night where I was like, he was sitting in a room with his girlfriend, so he wasn't able to talk, and I was trying to tell him how to install a server, and I had these lines in front of me, and I was like telling him, so now you have to type this, and then he didn't type it properly. So no, not that way, you have to type that. And he was typing and typing, and at the end we managed to get the server. His memory of that night was that he could hear my what was the name? Goat screaming behind me, because my office was with the goat. That's and we had the same on when we were first doing our project, like the recipes plus. When we were beginning, I would tell the guys like, install this and install that, and then one screw did, and we had to do it again, and so on. And it's so you don't have to do this. The nice thing about it, you don't have to do this. You can describe your server in code. You can share this description, and anyone can run it. It may take a little while, but it usually works. Usually. So that's one reason why to do it. You can share easily the configuration, as I said, between virtual servers you have on your machine, between servers you have somewhere, between anything. Then with that comes the second advantage listed here, that you get rid of those messages like, it worked for me because someone installed a different library of something, or someone used a completely different Linux distribution or something and it worked for them, or they had it on their Mac and they installed XAMPP or some weird stuff. So it worked on my machine, or actually it doesn't work on my machine. You completely get rid of it because everyone is running the same server. And of course, if you're switching between projects and you set up something on the device you're working on, and then you have to switch to another project, it may be a little hard to get rid of everything, switch off that machine because you want to, I don't know, run Photoshop or something. It's so much easier to work on virtuals and to work on virtuals that are provisioned by from code. Are you convinced?
Not yet.
Okay, we'll talk later. Yeah, disaster recovery, and there's many disaster recovery. If your server goes down and you need to set up a new server, it's always easier to just run the script instead of going through your old nodes and checking what happened. Of course, also changing stuff during the life of the project. You will never manage to make the node properly so that someone who comes after you knows what happened. But if you have the recipes or whatever you use in Git, then you can see the change, and you can see exactly why did this change in the server configuration. So it's also another reason why it's useful. Yeah, there is many ways to do this. I'll quickly go through the few I know, and then I'll talk about the one I know a little more. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Ansible. I was asking Jakub Hnilička, our colleague who's probably watching from Tabor, and he was setting up a server with Ansible, and he said it's really simple, which is actually the quote they are going with, Ansible is simple. I wanted to try it some long time ago, and I never managed to set it up. So for me, it wasn't that simple, but it's probably just me and different versions of Python and so on. The interesting thing is when you decide you want to manage a server with Ansible, you never need to install anything on that server. Everything happens automatically. This is what Jakub was saying as well, and then I realized that with Chef, it's not that complicated neither. So, and it looks like many projects are switching to Ansible, and everybody is talking about Ansible. So it's probably the cool thing to use. The other option is Puppet. So yeah, so that one is sorry, back again. This is Python, and most of the config happens in YAML files. So it's more like declarative, static stuff. Puppet is also declarative. It's quite easy to start with. I forgot to add a link here. There's a few servers, but the one I know, it's called, I can't even pronounce it, Puppet, but with more letters inside, like PHP instead of 2 P's, and it allows you to download a complete server configuration, and it's nice. You can click around and you can decide if you want Apache or the Russian guy or whatever, and you just click around, and then you come with a working server, and you can even tweak it afterwards, like if you want to change stuff and so on, if you know Puppet. So it's quite nice if you want to see what the thing is about and you want to try it. It's nice. But we don't use it. The main reason for me is that, if you ever wrote if in XML, you will probably understand. If you want something more simple, it's crazy. Something more complicated, of course. Bash. There is also repositories that allow to do the whole thing in plain old Bash, and it's quite cool, but it's too cool, I guess. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I've seen people doing it, and I don't know why. So there's also, if you like Docker, then you can say that Docker has something like this. But what's unfortunate about it for me is that it works only for Docker. So that they have their little language how to describe what to install on the Docker instance. But if you decide one day that actually you would like to have it in somewhere else on a different machine, I don't think you would have much luck trying to do it. And yeah, then there's salt stack. I don't know anything about it. Try it out. I don't know. So what we are using actually is Chef, and like, to be honest, I'm still not sure this is the best thing to use. This is the thing I know the most about, so that's why I'm using it now. If anyone will come and convince me why the others are better, then I'll be more than happy to try to switch. It's Ruby based, and it's more like you can actually write pieces of code, like everything is code, which is nice. Even though it's Ruby, which I normally wouldn't be writing, but it's not that difficult. So now a quick intro about how Chef works. Cookbook is a set of recipes, and then a recipe is a part of a cookbook. There's no better way to describe it, because like every project can have different ways of doing it. So I was like thinking what to put here. So for example, I was checking one of our projects where you have a recipe that sets up Elastic, which will mean like copy the code, start the service, put the configuration somewhere. So you will do a few things in one recipe, and
So it's a script.
yeah, that's definitely, yeah.
So one recipe per, let's say, one component.
Yeah. And then Cookbook contains more of these, and actually that's like when you come for the first time and you see a Chef cookbooks, it looks a little bit complicated because there's so many directories, and but at the end it's basically the recipes and attributes and templates, and it's not that complicated. So the recipe is the actual code you are writing most often, and then if you need to copy some code, you will probably have a template that you will use, and if your cookbook specifies some variables that others would like to set, there'll be a special folder with attributes where these are set. I'll show you later. Resource, that's probably the most important term in Chef lingo. And it's nice that it's not cooking related, because like try Googling for, you know, something recipe something, it's always something else than what you wanted. So I have a nice set of good chefs I wouldn't know about before, because so resource is a term that every resource you use in a recipe is something that is being defined on the server. And the most interesting part about the resources is that most of them are idempotent. I was trying to find a picture for idempotent. It's a very interesting concept. In math, there's this absolute value. Absolute value, you can use it once, and it will probably change the value, and then the other, like every next time, the value is the same. So like you can use it 10 times and the value will stay the same. And that's the concept behind resources. Like you apply it once, so you install a server, and then if you try to apply it another time, it won't do anything if it sees that the server is actually installed. Is it clear? Because that's the most important stuff. And I should admit, like it took me half a year of using Chef before I finally understood what this idempotent thing means. So you have a big advantage now if you understand it and you want to use it. There are resources that come from Chef, or like the basic stuff for downloading files, for setting up services, and for what else? For quite everything, for setting up users on devices, for running scripts. That's the one which is not idempotent and which causes troubles. Then I'll show you later. So basically, when you write a recipe, you take a resource and you provide the resource some variables, and you call an action on that resource, which will do what you want. So resource, remote file, you provide the address of the remote file, you say where you want to store it, who should own it, and then that's it. The default action would be create this file. Yeah. You may, it's interesting, is this, I don't know how long it's around, but it looks like that every project that, or everything that that starts being interesting will create this thing around it. Like when you use Node, and you end up downloading pretty everything if you want to write hello world. So with Chef, you may end up doing the same thing. Like you define a few dependencies on other cookbooks, and those cookbooks are trying to be very smart, so they're able to install, for example, Apache on Ubuntu, on CentOS, on Windows, and whatever. So like you're trying to set up a small server, quick server, and then you notice it's downloading some Windows stuff and some other stuff, and it takes ages, and then it downloads these things, and then it takes ages again to put them on the server. So the good news is that you don't have to use these, and that there's like if you are happy staying on one platform, which like most of the time people are, then you can create your own simple cookbooks, and you don't have to download almost anything, and then everything is quite nice and fast. Yeah, there is this option, like with many of these other services, there is the option that there is an extra server running somewhere controlling your instances. We had this on Recipes Plus, where the Polish were in control of the server, and it was really of the Chef server, and like we would change something because we wanted to see how it works, and then Chef came and removed our configuration and put the original one on it. And so you can set it up so that it will keep the server the same all time and make sure that nothing changed. You can set it up so that it will run servers automatically and so on. It's nice, but I don't think we are at such scale that we would need any such thing for now. And you can easily, if you're not on Windows, you can easily control the servers from the command line. So that's Chef itself. Do you want to ask anything or anything unclear?
No, I just like want to explain myself, because like, the last time I said like, do we really need Chef or some provisioning system? I was really like the Chef is. I was playing with Chef with you together and with Puppet, and I was setting up in the background, so like we have some experience with this provisioning. Like I have a feeling that when you're doing like something one time, like only one time use, some local project, some local server, it's really starting to be complicated with provisioning, because usually you can spend more time writing this Chef than setting itself. On the other hand, for example, this Chef, or like from my perspective, could be really useful for, let's say, mass production, if I can say. I mean, so next time I will need for a project some new server. I will not call Ben and ask, give me just like a Ubuntu server. I will ask him, give me please like TFS builds TFS ready server, and he will just create a virtual machine, run the Chef, and it will take him half an hour to do, and you have everything. I mean, like in a big scale. Or every time new developers get in a new notebook, like again, just provision, setting up everything. So I mean, like when you repeatedly have to set it up, like is it so, or you have like a different opinion? Or
I do have I understand. I do have a slightly different opinion. Like first thing is, it shouldn't be so painful as it was with you. Sorry for the experience, and that's actually what I'm also trying to work on, like to make it less painful. So that's the one thing. The second thing is, even though it's one server, it's not mass production. you will want to change it in 3 months. Then the one who set it up will go away. Someone will change something on the server, not tell about it to anyone, and then you will try to set up something and you don't know what the hell is happening to the server. So from my point of view, there should be no single server that's not managed in this way, like having the config in code.
If someone changes something on the server, what will Chef give you to resolve the problem? For example, he installs secretly some different version of library. How do
you can just like,
so it's basically destroy and rebuild.
Yeah, that's the main thing. You can do it anytime.
If you can do it with your server actually, but
usually you can. That's the switch it off and on. That's like the mantra of IT or.
What is the difference or advantage when you compare this approach of preparation of the environment, let's say, when you compare it to having a Docker image of complete environment ready and distributing that one?
This is like, this can control Docker, but Docker can't control other options of deployment. Docker is not always the answer. So from my point of view, this is more universal. Like as Nikolai said, you can control a notebook with Chef or any other system. You can control a bare metal server. You can control a virtual server with Amazon or whatever. Well, when you have a Docker, you need to have something underneath, and it's not always the case. So yeah. So yeah, I think if it wasn't for Jakub, we would never manage to get that far. So big thanks to Kuba. And from my point of view, we have great results with Chef. This is some of the projects that where we used Chef. On recipes plus the original development server wasn't written in Chef, but then some partial pieces and the production server is already in Chef. For Hackathon, yeah, it wasn't tested on Windows, but otherwise it was fun. Newsroom had a great set of recipes and cookbooks, and I think the guys enjoyed quite a lot of nice time waiting for Vagrant up and down. On the project we are working on now, I think it works a little faster. Test server, I don't remember what that means. And I wonder if any of you is using any such thing like Chef. You had something? Yeah. Yeah. And
the server as well.
Yeah, Rostya has Docker,
So
right?
you know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyone else using any like not only Chef but like any sort of describing the server config in code?
we used bash with combination. Maybe Mikuláš remembers what we used for those Linux images we needed for the test machines.
Yes, we have generated some configurations for the servers, this virtual box. So we have generated several Linux servers and the connections between them. And
was it pure bash or it was some framework?
yes, it was bash.
Okay, the test server, I don't know. That's the next next indeed. We have with Vítě during recipes plus projects, we created a server like a virtual server that would run tests for us, and it was really cool because you could connect your device, your phone to it, and there was the Selenium headquarters on this virtual machine that was controlling your device, and we actually use it for Zentrum der Gesundheit as well, and it helps to keep the testers time, because otherwise, if you run protractor tests on a tester machine, the tester has to sit there and watch and can't really touch the computer. So it's quite useful. I would love to promote it a little more later. So, yeah, given the dependency hell and everything, I decided I would try to use a simple approach. So when I want to install Nginx on a server, I just use the normal way. Is it getting late or what? No. I would use the normal way of using aptitude or apt-get or something. And the nice thing about it is it's fast, and you don't have to download any extra cookbooks or anything. You get the default settings which come with Ubuntu, and this like whatever you install that are usually quite how to say it, quite thoughtful. There's like usually it's okay to use them, and then you can later on you can tweak them. This has some drawbacks, such as normally it wouldn't be recommended to change config files via a recipe in Chef. Normally you would be supposed to have the whole config file somewhere and then deploy the whole config file and probably change some variables in it. So with this way, we have to like we are happy to use the config that comes with the package, and we just tweak it. So, for example, I don't know, switch off some connection to the outer board and so on. So that's what I'm like trying to build now. A few repositories that will use this simple approach and that will make it easier to install stuff. And there's this big thing for me, which is a resource I wrote myself that allows to run bash scripts in a way which is almost idempotent, which means that you are sure that it only runs once. So, for example, I don't know if you need to set up, what was it? Set up a database, you can run the script, and you're sure that it only runs once, because, yeah, that's... At the moment, we don't have a Chef server. As I said, I don't think it's so much important, but like if we end up having more servers or more cookbooks and recipes, it may happen to be useful to have even the server for us. And what I would love to have at some point in this company, like a dedicated DevOps team that would manage cookbooks for the others, that would allow to set up projects quickly, to remove the pain of setting up the project. That would keep the cookbooks fresh, because everything is changing constantly and the cookbooks need to be updated, and also learn from the projects and improve projects as we go. Improve the cookbooks by stuff we learned on projects. It's a pity that Mila just left. That was like a message for Mila. You can tell him. Yeah, that's it. So I'll now sit down and I'll try to show you. Oh. Thanks. Try to show you some code. Just a moment. Crazy. No, I don't want it this way. One more time.
Again, you are sharing the wrong screen.
I know. This is not it. Sorry. Damn. Sorry, one more time. It will ask me if I agree, but somewhere where I don't see it. Okay. This one. Now,
Yes.
can you see at least something? This is the code for our little recipe that installs the Elastic server. As I said, there's the this is the resource you provided with some parameters like what you want to install and where it goes, and then there's this resource of ours which will allow to run the code only once. So it's called safe bash because it's safe to use it, which is not the case with bash itself, because it will repeat every time you use the recipe. As I said, the structure of the cookbook is a little daunting at first look. There's quite a few directories. Just collapse everything. Yeah. Attributes will store the default values. Like if your cookbook is going to be used by other people, you will want to expose attributes, which will allow other people to, I don't know, set a different amount of memory that will be given to something, or set the folder where something will be downloaded and stuff like that. There is data bags which will allow to provide some data to the server, like maybe use it for sharing keys of developers, so the developers can later on log on to the server. Where am I? Notes. When you use when you set up the servers, you can store the node config in a little JSON like this. So you can override the variables per server. You can have a server that has more memory or different address and so on. You can set a very secure password, for example. And so yeah, that's the nodes where you define the servers. And this is the fun part. Like this was my first resource I ever wrote, and it consists of a file in the resources, which will like define the function and provide information, or the class, and provide information about it. And then there's the provider that does the actual job. As you can see, it's quite easy to write it. It took a little bit to grab the to understand how it works, but it's easy. And chef will always ask whether this should be run or not, and there's or you have the other option that you control it yourself, that you like if there's this control file, if it doesn't exist, then you won't run the code, and that's how it's made safe. So I was hoping I would show you like a brand new server, but I don't have time to do it. So I'll probably just show you I'll try to run it against our test server. Cool. I have a little script that will run it for me because I always forget the parameters. Cook it. It's always fun to look at it because it will write everything it does, and it does quite a few things. So if you see many green lines jumping on my screen, that's the result that you should see. So this will just prepare the cookbooks, store them on put them on the server, run Chef client on the server with the cookbooks, and that's it. And it's really cool. Like whenever we need something, some change, like add another virtual host to Apache or something. Okay, something's wrong there. We just change the file and it runs. And the nice thing is that like when we are happy with it, we publish it to the rest of the team, and the rest of the team has the same server as a virtual machine on their notebook. So like we keep the environment the same, which is a very important thing for, like, a very important reason for me why to use this. That's about it. I guess we are over time. Yeah, sorry. Any questions? Or no, sorry, the other way. Like, when are you going to use it on your project, and why not? If not, should I like call names or?
Suppose you'd like to see some resources. I mean, links, URLs to something we can read.
Yeah.
About Chef and other.
Yeah, that's a little sad thing about Chef, that the documentation, it's there, but it's somehow a little harder to get into it. But yeah, I will provide the links.
So maybe just to clarify, the target machine is some virtual image that you have pre-prepared, or it's some any machine. And how does it work? How can it reset to specific sort of beginning stage? So you have to have, I have my physical server. Yeah. I run something, install some stuff, and then some bad stuff happens. I want to reset. How can?
Like with virtual machines, I would just start from scratch, but install the operating system again. But there is a way, and to be honest, I don't know exactly how they do it. But the service we had in Poland, whatever we would do on them at 5 o'clock every afternoon, it would go away, and it was so it works.
But Chef does that, or some other mechanism?
Yeah, Chef.
Are there any checkpoints in the, let's say, whole cookbook setup? For example, you go to production and you have a, say, resources state version 1. Yeah. In 3 months, you are preparing an update of the new version. So you have a version 2 of the cookbook. Mm-hmm. Something gets wrong, and you want to immediately roll back to the version 1.
Just take from the older version.
So it's basically the same question, like how do you uninstall stuff that you've done with Chef?
Not really uninstall, but go to the previous version. Previous is something like stable version.
Yeah. I don't know, to be honest, and I think it should be possible.
Definitely by hand. No problem.
No.
Just go back to some tag
with,
in Git repository and run it again.
No, but even with I guess that would involve the Chef server and like a better control of the machine. But yeah, it should be possible. It's funny when you check, for example, Vagrant.
Vagrant has the versioned boxes.
Sorry?
Vagrant has version boxes, so you can go back to a version.
No. I wanted to say when you check Vagrant documentation provisioning, there's like 4 different ways to provision Vagrant boxes with Chef. So as I said, it's a huge ecosystem. There's many ways to do stuff, and you have to like choose your way. Kuba was just writing here that there is a that you can set the versions.
Okay, that's good.
And also that's the very important lesson we learned the very hard way is whenever you use a community cookbook, like a cookbook defined by someone else, you have to fix the version you use because they love to improve their cookbooks and to break the API completely. So like whenever you use a community cookbook, make sure you fix the version you use. There's like something like package.json, so a similar file. So it's good to know which version you are using. Okay, thank you. And use Chef.